I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Cruton.
This Week in Recruiting. Greg Powers, our recruiting analyst from Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Hi, Powers.
What's up?
How are you?
Great.
How was your week?
It was good.
Yeah?
Good week. Very busy.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
I think it's just going to be like that forever. When you're in football recruiting, football coverage, everybody wants to do it.
Yes. And
but
then
you do it.
And then you see the hours.
It's just a lot of work sometimes.
Yes. Let's get to This Week in Recruiting. A lot to talk about. Some big news around the state. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. We're going to Arlington Martin, and a program that's off, a team that's off to a great start.
Yep.
Big reason why 2022 defensive end Ernest Cooper, they call him RJ.
Yep.
Picked up a big offer this week. His first offer, this one from the Texas Longhorns, and this guy, for a kid who is a sophomore.
Yep.
Certainly passes the eyeball test at 6'5", 220.
Good Lord.
Look how long his arms are.
Yeah.
And just a puppy, as you mentioned. Sophomore, he's going to get bigger, stronger, even quicker off the football as he matures in what I believe is one of the best strength and conditioning programs in the state, a school that produced a guy like Myles Garrett.
I was going to say, name one defensive end they've ever produced at Arlington Martin.
And that's not the only one. The guys that are coming out of Arlington Martin are typically ready for college, and I think RJ will be there by the time he's a senior stepping on the field, and Texas recognized his talents early, extending him an offer after an unofficial visit this weekend. For their big win over Oklahoma State, ending that long losing streak in Austin to the Cowboys. Texas A&M is also on him as well, and I imagine now that Texas has offered the floodgates will now open for R.J. Cooper.
Yeah, R.J. Cooper. His name's Ernest, but call him R.J. Picked up a big offer from Texas this week. You figure that will I'm going to go on a record, say that won't be his final offer.
No, I don't think so.
I think he'll get at least one more. Let's get to our commit of the week. And this may as well be our flip of the week.
Yeah.
And this is big news. Fort Bend Austin 2020 wide receiver Troy Omeire, right?
Yeah, you did great.
Troy Omeire. We got a good old-fashioned A&M to Texas flip. I feel like this hasn't happened in a while with A&M and Texas like flipping between one another, but this one's a pretty big one. A 4-star prospect, the number 23 prospect in Dave Campbell's Texas Football's Hot 100. Decommits from the Aggies, commits to Texas. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think so, and why I think this is a big deal is because Texas has had so much success with these bigger framed wide receivers in recent years, especially since Tom Herman has taken over at the helm of the Longhorns program. Lil Jordan Humphrey last year, Colin Johnson this year. They understand how to use these bigger frame guys in their offense, and I think that's exactly what he is. Malcolm Epps, another guy there who's probably more in the. I think Troy's a little bit more explosive than Epps was. Epps was a tight end projection coming out of high school. I think he's probably going to play in the flex, be a bigger outside receiver when they need him. But he's a guy who can flat out go up and get the football when you need him to. But I love his blocking ability. This guy will really block, and I think that's very important because the Texas ground game is something that really needs to start to get going if they want to make a mark on the national landscape. They need to be able to run the football, and it takes good wide receivers, and I think Tom Herman would be the first to attest to that because at Ohio State, when they had guys like Devin Smith step up, they won the national championship because those guys were blocking for Zeke on the edge. So those are the type of guys you need out there.
I would bring up the point that I think with Troy Omeire, this would be a guy who would be getting a lot more attention from a statewide and national perspective in a lot of other years, but it's a really good wide receiver year, especially at the very top with Demas and with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Even adding a guy like Quentin Jackson or Quentin Johnston rather, and Marvin Mims, Loke Fwanji. It's a really good receiver core of and so I feel like he may be a guy that kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but this guy's a playmaker. He's a playmaking dude, and he's a big reason why. He's a number 23 ranked prospect in the state, according to Dave Campbell's Texas Football, according to Next Level Athlete. I feel like this is a really, a guy that in a lot of other years we'd be talking a lot more about.
We have him third in the wide receiver rankings, and that's behind Demas and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Also, if you consider E.J. Smith as a wide receiver, we rate him as an athlete for right now, would push him down to number 4. But he's one of these guys who took a rankings hit by some of the other services based around his performance at the opening finals in Frisco. And he came into that camp a little banged up. So sometimes the national guys get a chance to look at these prospects for the first time in person, and they're out there competing when they're not 100%. I'm telling you, this dude can play. So I still feel pretty firm that he's one of the top 25 guys in the state.
It's Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. Join us for This Week in Recruiting here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Let's get to our underclassman of the week. Underclassman of the week, it's a guy you may have heard of. North Shore 2021 quarterback Dematrius Davis Jr. Has named the top 5.
What did he do again?
He named the top 5.
No, I mean, why do we know his name?
He threw a pass.
Oh, he threw a pass.
Not really important.
One of the 49 touchdowns.
A guy who he's named his top 5: A&M, Baylor, LSU, Nebraska, Virginia Tech. A diverse top 5.
Yeah, 3 different conferences.
A really, when I first read this, I was like, this is normally there's a like a through line, right?
Right.
You go, oh, okay, he's thinking he wants to stay close to home. So, for example, if it was like Baylor, A&M, LSU, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, you'd be like, oh, he wants to stay close to home. Or it's like guys like, oh, he definitely wants to get away. It's like, oh, okay, it's Nebraska, Virginia Tech, maybe LSU, Florida, and Ohio State. Instead, it's this odd mix of ACC, Big Ten, SEC, and Big 12 all lumped into this. But whoever gets him is getting a bona fide playmaker.
And this is his junior highlight reel from this season. And I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit before we kind of dive into his top 5, just to kind of show the progress I feel like he's made up in a few short games.
Yeah.
They entered this season without Shadrack Banks, who's probably their top playmaker on the offensive side of the ball at the receiver position.
Certainly.
And of course, they got 2 great running backs there, Zachary Evans and John Gentry.
And I think you can make an argument that Shadrack Banks, not to interrupt you, but you can make an argument that Shadrack Banks is like their only established receiver as well. Like
right.
He's their big-time playmaker on the outside. He's
Exactly.
the one guy that you know and is a known commodity on the outside.
As the games progressed this year, Davis has progressed without those playmakers, because Zach Evans played in game 1 and then has been not in the next games after that, and they need to lean on him a bit to make this thing click.
Yeah.
And he started to step up within that. And I think that's really important to watch a quarterback's development within an offense in that regard. He's now stepping up as a leader in the absence of those playmakers, which I think is really important.
It's important to see a quarterback do what the team needs him to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this year they have needed him to do more. Plain and simple. They've needed him to be more of a runner. They've needed him to step up and be more of a leader, and he's done that.
Right. And the Ridgepoint game, I think, was his best game to me. I mean,
Yeah.
at least on tape, it was his best game. But who knows where he'll end up. I think LSU has a great inroads with North Shore prospects. It's pretty close to home. Of course, A&M is always going to be there, but they already have a commitment in that, I think, in that class from Eli Stowers. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes up, because he also has ACC and Big Ten on that list. So SEC, ACC, Big Ten. Who else was it? Let's see.
And then it was Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
SEC,
the one
Virginia
that
Tech.
threw me off.
Yeah, SEC, Big Ten, ACC. So
And Big
could
12.
be Big 12.
Baylor.
So
I mean,
4 out of there you go.
Yeah, four
It is a
Power Five
diverse
conferences.
list.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, the only one
Poor
Pac-12. Shout out to you.
Pac-12.
Yeah, Pac-12. Let them.
They're struggling in
Pac-12
recruiting
after
and on the
dark.
field.
They're struggling. It's quite dark. It's after dark, one might say, in the Pac-12. Finally, our recruit of the week. It's another underclassman, 2021 running back out of Denton, Garrett Deuce Harmon. Took an unofficial to Texas A&M, and while he was there, they offered him a scholarship. Very quickly after that, he got an offer from Oklahoma State. That he already had offers from SMU, TCU, and Illinois State. This is a guy who, if you want to put the tag breakout candidate on him, I think that's fair to say.
We did.
Yeah.
We did put the tag breakout candidate on him, and it's nice to see his list start to kind of reflect the talent that he possesses. Oklahoma State offered him just a couple of days after Texas A&M, so he's up to 5. 3 out of those 5 are P5 schools. Of course, SMU and Illinois State have a keen eye for talent. His list is going to continue to go up. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about him come January that he's got 15 offers.
Yeah.
Geyer's defense has allowed a lot of points so far this season, but if they are to make a run to the championship, if they're to make it to AT&T or a deep run in the playoffs, they're going to need their defensive guys to step up, and this is, of course, one of those guys. And as he plays better, his list will continue to go up. Of course, once you get that big in-state offer, whether it's Texas or Texas A&M, sometimes TCU, whoever that may be, that's when the out-of-state schools really feel like they can't afford to wait anymore. and they start to follow suit. And we saw it with Oklahoma State, but that's not going to be the last offer for him. He's one of the most physically imposing cornerback prospects, even though he's not at that 6-foot marker. He plays physical brand of football, and I think that he'll be one of the top-rated guys in the state for that class.
Where are you going this weekend?
Ooh, nowhere.
Okay.
No, seriously.
I live here now.
We're going to go to Frisco Memorial versus Frisco Lebanon Trail this week.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple guys at Lebanon Trail that I've been watching. Drew Donnelly, a receiver who started to pick up some offers. He's one of the fastest track guys in the state. And they have a defensive end who's he could probably get some FCS looks, and Jaden Leverett. And I'm looking forward to seeing Frisco Memorial. Two of these teams that are at the beginning of their progress in FISD. So we'll see what happens. And then I'm going to try to swing by and catch the tail end of the Colony and Frisco Centennial, depending on how the game goes. So we'll see how it all plays out. I do think that the Frisco Memorial Lebanon Trail game will be a shootout and a very intriguing game. It was a great game last year for the two upstart programs, and I think it'll be a good game again this year.
He is Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. And, of course, see his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it.